All right, I got a 12.8 volt, 300 amp hour lithium iron phosphate from the company called Smilaxe. It's a 20-inch case, 60 pounds, $8.99 retail on Amazon. Sometimes there's coupons. And I received it and it had a crack, and I talked to the company. They said, if it works okay and you want to keep it, I'll give you 15% off, or we'll replace it. I said, sure, I'll take the 15% off, and then I'm going to open it up and inspect for damage. And if it's nothing wrong with it, I'm just going to keep it and use it. So I started here. I worked my way through. You pretty much have to destroy the case to get into it. I did. I broke a lot of the tabs off through here, and then once I was able to kind of lift it up, I could separate the adhesive here. It's a real strong adhesive. Seems like it's like a high temperature. You know, I don't think a heat gun will help. And I kind of cracked it a little bit here, and then I finally got it open. On the side, we've got a pair of 6 gauge, which together makes about 3 gauge. And 3 gauge for a chassis wire, it's like 160 amp maximum. In this case, it's more like 110 amp maximum, but this is a 200 amp BMS. So if you were to run 200 amps, you're going to get some serious heat. And when I design something, I don't design it for like, is it going to burst into flames? I try to design it to be efficient. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to pick on them for this, because these are nice high quality cables. It's, you know, like a lot of strands, silicone jacket. They did a nice job. All the connections are nice and tight. Stainless steel hardware, chrome plated brass terminals. Everything's nice. But yeah, the point is, you don't want to run 200 amps through these. Even though it's only a foot, you're going to have a voltage drop. So just something to keep in mind. Now, I'm not ever going to put 200 amps through this thing. And it probably would handle it for some period of time, but it wouldn't be ideal. So what can you do? Well, you could replace this, but there's not a lot of room inside there. You could bypass that and just connect directly to these terminals. But I'm probably not going to do anything, because I got a lot of other batteries and they divide the load, so it's never going to see more than 80 amps anyways. So that's the wiring situation. I peeled the foam back to get a look at the BMS. It's a JBD ZP04S008-S. Couldn't find any documentation about it. I couldn't even find a single picture of this BMS. It does not have a low temperature sensor, and maybe it's got a high temp sensor built in, but there's no remote lead for that. There's no heater port. There's no Bluetooth. What you do have is battery minus 1, 2, 3, and 4 to check the voltage of each cell. I assume it's going to have active balancing if it's going to bother to do that. And it seems like it's a nice quality unit. It's got a nice big chunk of aluminum, and it's mounted very securely. As every connection here, like this is a nice beefy bus bar. All the connections are nice stainless steel. They put some silicone or something on there just so that they can't work themselves loose. And it's a fine job. Everything looks good, and I see no damage. So let's take a look at the cells. There was a nice big piece of foam on each side here, and it was in there really nice and snug. I took that out just to make it easier for the video. I ran my razor through here and then kind of pulled this adhesive away. Got really nice, big, thick aluminum bus bars here. They're welded in place. You can see all the BMS leads are attached nice. And I can't tell, I don't have enough experience to know what brand these cells are, but there is a sticker here that says 305886. That's a capacity test, so it's 305.8 amp hours. The date is 2022 June, and this battery was manufactured 2022 September. So it makes sense that the cells would be manufactured in June, end up in the battery by September, and end up at my place by January. And there's really I can't see how that could be a used cell. I wouldn't want used cells, because I do want to use these for, it's for a solar system. I want to use them for 10 years. I want to use them for 15 years if I can. If it still has 250 amp hours of capacity, I'll still use it. That's no problem. So it's great to see that. And this one over here says 306.4, well, it's 306,451. So 306.4 amp hours of capacity. Same thing with the date. I checked the voltage on each cell. They are exactly the same with my fluke meter all the way down to, well, they read these to the minimum that the meter can read, which is 1/100th of a volt. They're exactly the same. That's just resting. I didn't test it under load. So nice thick insulators. I have no complaints here. Everything's great, no bulging. So everything seems to be very good with this. If you guys know what brand cell this is, please post in the comments. It's probably hard to tell, but it's basically got this little 2 half circles here and a blue surround with a little gap right there. I tried to look online. I couldn't really figure out which one it was. But as long as they're brand new and they're good quality, I have no complaints with that. If you guys have any comments or questions, I can see that the crimps are excellent, good quality, the hexagon shape on all the crimps, good quality materials, and the customer service was good. I had no complaints. So, you know, guys, this might be the best deal you can get. If you can find one of these for $8.99, you can find a coupon on it. It's going to be almost as cheap as you could build it. And God forbid you get one that's got a crack or something. That's unfortunate, because you do want these things to be waterproof in the event that they get set in a situation. Who knows? They get set in a mud puddle, like a wet situation or something like that. It would be preferred that they stay waterproof. I'm going to clean up this case and put tape in it and so on. But you can actually buy cases that are a little more space efficient. This is only 12 inches. It's a 20-inch case. There are cases for sale that are closer to this size. And also, I wanted to point out that the 300 amp hour size is a really good compromise, because I have 4 of these. So if I tried to go with a 100 amp hour size, I'd have to have a lot of bus bars and wires and connections to connect all 12 of them into parallel. In my case, I just have these 4 big batteries to connect in parallel. I have a really big 12-volt system, big by my standards. Now you can fit 400 amp hours in these cases, and sometimes they do, but that makes it 80 some odd pounds, which, 60 pounds for me, I can carry that around. If a guy's here with a dump trailer and there's something wrong with his battery, I can go in the basement, disconnect one of these, and carry it up there, and he can hook it up to, you know what I mean? Like there's so many. It's still portable. You can still move it around and do different things with it. 80 pounds gets to the point where you really almost, if you're carrying up and down stairs, that's a pretty big. That's a challenge. It could be a challenge for people. It's probably a challenge for me, and I don't want to risk getting an injury. But at 60 pounds, that's really no problem to carry this thing around. And now some of the other batteries that are 300 amp hours are going to be 70 pounds. That's pretty common. My Ampere Time 300 amp hour batteries are 70. My Wise 300 amp hour is 60. So it depends on the type of cells and how they configured it, what kind of weight you're going to be dealing with. So the older 300 amp hour batteries were 85 pounds, for example. So it's just really nice to see them moving in this direction to get it all the way down to 60. So it's another thing that I really like about this battery. And even though the advertisement says that it's a 70-pound battery, that was probably a previous technology or a different set of cells, and now they're into these ones and they're at the 60-pound. They just haven't updated their documentation. So that's really cool. If you guys have any questions, comments, please post them up. Thank you.